Sports.
We are the Force. We are the Force.
Tonight from Tropicana Field, the Rays homestand continues after taking 2 out of 3 from Baltimore and then hitting 9 home runs in the Boston series, but dropping 2 out of 3 to the Red Sox. The Rays open a 4-game series tonight, hosting the Kansas City Royals. Hi again, everyone, and welcome to an evening of Rays baseball with Brian Anderson. I'm Dwayne Stats. Great to have you looking in tonight. We'll be hearing from Todd Callis in just a few moments. Well, this Kansas City Royals ball club hit a tough spot in May, but they're coming off a very good homestand, and particularly on the road. Alex Gordon has been very good. He'll lead the charge against the Rays right-hander Jeremy Hellickson.
Yeah, how about that? Alex Gordon, .371 batting average on the road. This is a guy, he broke into the league in 2007, and between 2007 2010, the much ballyhooed prospect had a .244 average in the big leagues, but then the light went off between 2010 2011. Since then, he's a career .299 hitter, which coincidentally is his average this year. 6 home runs, and this is a guy that sprays the ball all over the field, the catalyst for that offense that Jeremy Hellickson will look to slow down. And I thought that game against the Indians, the way he finished up there, a lot of confidence was built from the end of that ball game, and he took that right into his start against the Baltimore Orioles. A very good lineup, and he went 6 shutout innings, 5 walks, did not walk a hitter. A much better job of working the ball down in the zone. That has been the difference for Jeremy Hellickson.
And Hellickson's numbers for his career against Kansas City, pretty good. 3 starts, a win, no losses, and an earned run average of 2.66. He's won 3 in a row and comes in 4-2 overall. These two clubs made big news in the offseason. Will Myers coming over to the Rays organization for James Shields. Shields in town with Kansas City, not scheduled to pitch. Todd Callis looks into all that after this.
For the first of 4 between the Rays and Kansas City.
Elliott, Wade Davis, and James Shields, all a part of that trade just over 6 months ago now, December 9th in the offseason. The Rays and the Royals involved in a trade that allowed Kansas City to pick up 40% of their starting rotation. You see what James Shields has done. Kind of similar to a year he's had here in Tampa Bay before, where he's pitched great, just doesn't have the run support to have the victories. 2-6. Wade Davis has been good at times, has been not so good at times. 5.37 ERA. He will face these Rays. Elliott Johnson, the other part of the deal. And then Jake Odorizzi, Will Myers, Mike Montgomery, and Patrick Leonard all coming back from Kansas City. Here was James Shields before the game talking about returning to Tropicana Field as a visitor.
Just seeing all the guys has been great. You know, I mean, it's I was kind of wishing I was going to pitch in here, but unfortunately in a 4-game series I'm missing it here. But yeah, it's definitely weird. I mean, I got a lot of good memories here, a lot of happy times, and you know, a lot of good friends. So it's been good.
So while the Rays will not see Shields, they will see Wade Davis. WD-40 pitches in the Sunday game, 1:40 start to wrap up this 10-game homestand. We still have 4 more to go in the homestand, including in 3 minutes and 42 seconds. Irvin Santana against Jeremy Hellickson. Enjoy all the action next on Sun Sports.
A home run in each of the Rays' last 3 games. Tonight, Evan looks to power Tampa Bay past the surging Royals, who are coming in off an emotional win yesterday over the Tigers. Tonight, the Rays and the Kansas City Royals meet in their second series of the year. Rays dropped a couple in Kansas City, then suffered the snow out, and the makeup date is yet to be determined, and so the Rays will begin this 4-game series tonight here at the Trop against the Royals. In the game tonight, we again participate in the home run challenge. Tonight, every home run in this game raises $12,000. You can make a pledge by going online to homerunchallenge.org. Rays come in 35-30 on the year. And good evening to you, Joe Madden. The tip of the cap as well. Let's take a look at the starting lineup for the Kansas City Royals tonight, presented by Sweet Bay Supermarkets. Alex Gordon leads off. Eric Hosmer hits second, and then Salvador Perez, the catcher, is the number 3 hitter. Billy Butler, arguably their best hitter, is the DH hitting cleanup. Lorenzo Cain in center. David Lowe in right. Miguel Tejada is at third base tonight, hitting 7th. In front of the former Ray, Elliott Johnson at second, and Alcides Escobar, the shortstop, will bat 9th.
They'll take the mound tonight for the Tampa Bay Rays. Right-hander Jeremy Hellickson making his 14th start of the season. His season numbers brought to you by Coventry Healthcare of Florida. 4-2 record. 2 of those wins have come in his last 2 starts. He's defeated the Cleveland Indians and the Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Oriole game in particular, very impressive for Jeremy Hellickson. He did a great job of keeping the ball down in the zone, moving it around, and against a very strong Oriole lineup. He went 6 innings, gave up no earned runs, didn't walk anybody, recorded 5 strikeouts in that win. Let's take a look at the defense as it lines up behind Jeremy. In the outfield, left to right, Fold, Jennings, and Joyce. Across the infield, third to first, Johnson, Escobar, Zobrist, and Loney. Jose Molina will be behind the plate.
And there's a look at Kelly Johnson, BA. This will be his first big league start at third base.
Yeah, I mean, talk about a shock. This is a guy came over from Toronto as a second baseman, has played a ton of left field this year for the Rays, doing a nice job out there, and now is going to move it a whole lot closer to that hitter at third base.
He has played some third base in the minor leagues, but first time out at the major league level. Well, if you're on this team managed by Joe Madden, there's a good chance you're going to play 2 or 3 or 4 positions, and no telling where you might hit in the lineup as well.
I liked what he did with Desmond Jennings when he made that move, pushed him down in the order. He started having some success. You bring Jennings back up to the leadoff spot for John Lester. He hits 2 home runs. Free fall again. Go ahead and head back down.
Yep.
You
and
never
it's
know.
all working out.
That's right.
We're all set to play baseball. Alex Gordon will lead off for Kansas City. Royals 3 games under 500. Jeremy Hellickson set to go to work, and the first pitch, presented by Pinch a Penny, is a bit outside. So we're underway tonight. Tim Timmons is calling the balls and strikes. Right back into the screen. 1-1. Well, Gordon hitting .299 overall, but here's the home and road breakout, and it is significant.
It certainly is. 140-point difference. 4 home runs. A few of the RBIs, but a huge difference for Alex Gordon. Probably glad to be getting away from home. He really struggled on that homestand where the Royals played exceptionally well.
Yeah, they went 7-2. He was 3 for 30 on the homestand.
His average was up in the mid 300s, 348. It's dropped down, still a nice year at .299, but looking to get it going again where he's been comfortable, and that's on the road.
Hellickson has him out in front.
So
change up, and it's 2-2.
So often when you see guys like Alex Gordon, you know, when he really took off, he came into the league his first couple of years, he was a .240 hitter. And then all of a sudden just started cranking it up since 2011. Did a better job of hitting the ball all over the field. When guys use the whole field, the average starts to climb. When they go into slumps, typically they start to get pull conscious. You saw right there, Jeremy got him out in front.
Now a full count. He lays off the pitch too high. Osborne next, and then Perez. And a little tapper toward the mound. Hellickson with a 3-2 change takes care of Gordon, pitcher first.
And Jeremy Hellickson, his stuff sets up very well against this Kansas City lineup. It's a young lineup. It's an aggressive lineup. These guys like to swing the bat and get after you. And obviously a pitcher like Jeremy Hellickson with that good changeup, that will typically play very well as long as he's pitching ahead in the count.
Well, the Royals come in here off a win over the Detroit Tigers. Ed Yost not here. And Chino Cartagena is the acting manager. Pitch is down. Hosmer had the game winner yesterday. Cartagena a long time with the Atlanta Braves. He was the bench coach and very close associate of Bobby Cox in his run with the Braves. A strike on the inside part of the plate. 1-1. Hosmer picking up his first walk-off of the year, driving in the winning run yesterday in the 10th inning for Kansas City over the Tigers.
Eric Hosmer, the batting average at 274, you can live with that, but just the one home run, and I think that's what everybody expected, was more in the power and production category from Hosmer. You know, it's similar to what James Loney went through as he was coming up as a first baseman. With his size, you expect more of the home runs. And that's why when Loney came over here and Joe Madden said, look, you just stick with your approach, hit the ball the other way, do what you're going to do. And if he gets comfortable in that approach, Joe believed that the home run ball would start to come along. It certainly has. He's been one of the Rays' leading hitters all year.
Well, it really makes a lot of sense. Just let the guy be the hitter he is.
That's right.
And he's strong enough to hit more than the occasional home run. Swing and a tap foul, holding the count at 2-2.
And we've seen that. We've seen James Loney pick some spots every now and then where he will come unglued on a swing, and you know that he was that one. He gave himself that one swing to try to hit the ball out of the ballpark. And certainly we've seen him put on some shows in batting practice too.
Yeah, that's the tip-off.
Yeah,
you just come early and watch him take BP sometime. It's pretty interesting. There's a shot drilled deep to center. Jennings will go to the track with room and makes the catch. Couple steps away from the wall, and Jennings got back there in time to record out number 2.
Well, Hosmer put a nice swing on this ball, but down in the zone, he gets some lift and some carry, but not enough. And you're not going to get it over this guy's head if you're going to hit it that high, unless it's over the wall.
Well, the Royals have only hit 33 home runs this year, so a drive like that is dear to the hearts of any of these hitters, and Hosmer thought he might have hit it well enough.
The 33 home runs in the American League, it's tied with the Marlins for worst in baseball, and it's 21 fewer than any other team in the AL. So it's a significantly low number for the junior circuit.
Salvador Perez took a big cut right there. Well, here's the breakout. Fewest home runs in the majors. Kansas City and then Miami with 33. Pop up right side, foul ball. Hellickson's after it, so's Loney, and Loney is there. Boy, Hellickson straight ahead, full speed ahead until Loney grabbed it. Bottom of the first coming, no score. top of the first for Jeremy Hellickson for Sweet Bay Supermarkets. Starting lineup for the Rays, Matt Joyce leads off, followed by Ben Zobrist and Kelly Johnson. Evan Longoria again the DH. James Loney and then Desmond Jennings. Sam Cole gets a start in left, hitting seventh. Batting in front of Jose Molina and then Yunel Escobar. Lineup presented by Sweet Bay Supermarkets.
Now taking the mound tonight for the Kansas City Royals is right-hander Irvin Santana, making his 13th start of the season. His numbers brought to you by Coventry Healthcare of Florida. This guy has been a workhorse right behind James Shields. He's averaging 7 innings per start, has done that at least 9 of the 12 starts. And you see the record, a 4-5 record, but a very sterling 2.99 earned run average.
And the Rays have had some pretty good success against him at times through the years, but he has been a step above his performance of recent seasons so far this year for Kansas City. First pitch, it's a pop-up by Joyce. It's Tejada playing third base, and he makes the catch, one away.
Now let's take a quick look at the Royals defense as it lines up tonight. In the outfield left to right, Alex Gordon, Lorenzo Cain, and David Blow. Across the infield third to first, Miguel Tejada, Alcides Escobar, Elliot Johnson, and Eric Hosmer. Salvador Perez will be behind the plate.
And that brings Ben Zobrist up here. Ben has been very hot. First pitch is a strike. Interesting when you look at the Rays lineup tonight from a traditional perspective and the pitcher-hitter matchups. Ben Zobrist is 2 for 13 lifetime against Santana, and right behind him hitting third, Kelly Johnson is 1 of 11. Elliot Johnson at second takes care of this. Chat a little bit with Joe Madden about that, and you know there's a reason for everything that Joe does, and he says he fully understands that matchup, but that's way down the list for him when he puts a lineup together. The Rays, as we've discussed before, have detailed information that he has access to as they put the lineup together. And he says if he looks at a history like that and there are a ton of strikeouts, he said that's one thing. He said, but if they're not a lot of swings and misses in that matchup, then they don't weigh it as much as you might otherwise. Johnson skies to center. Some interesting insight from Madden there. No score. Ball on Sun Sports is brought to you by Tampa Bay Times. Amazing stories only in the 2013 Pulitzer Prize winning Tampa Bay time. Stand by. Toyota. Let's go places. Rays and the Royals moving on to the second inning. Jeremy Hellickson, a 1-2-3 first. And Irvin Santana, a 1-2-3 first. In the bottom of the inning, Santana made just 4 pitches. Hellickson 14 in the first.
Well, you can understand the Rays' approach off Irvin Santana, going after him early. This guy 4th in the American League in walks per 9. So you figure they're going to be aggressive. They don't want to fall behind him, get to that slider. Same thing with this Kansas City lineup and the Hellickson changeup.
So here is Billy Butler. Pitch is low. Butler hitting .269 on the year. It's a combination of giving you a good at bat and power. And he has power the other way. Bounces it back and to the right, out of play.
Well, he tried to give you some right there with that swing. Billy Butler has been a mainstay in the middle of this Kansas City lineup for a few years now. He does have that good mix of power and average, and that was a big swing on a pitch out over the plate there.
Butler 5 of 9 in his career against Hellickson. And the breaking ball a little bit high. And Butler all rev for something other than the curveball, but it was a little bit up. Now he gets one in there. 2-2.
It'd be interesting to see where this Kansas City team could be if they could get the offense going just a little bit.
Well, their pitching, which they had been concerned about, the reason they made the big trade, starting pitching was a major issue for this club. The pitching's been good. Ooh, he tried to get that fastball on the corner in. And a full count. Close pitch.
Well, they're number 1 in the league in ERA. Jeremy Hellickson tried to close out in, but that ball clearly off the plate. But just have not been able to consistently put together anything from the batter's box. And that is what has held this team back.
3-2, foul, another fastball.
I mean, even if you look at 4 being their magic number, which isn't too much to ask for an offense to average 4 runs, because when they've hit that mark and scored 4 runs or more, they're 20-5.
Yep.
That's pretty amazing. Speaking to obviously what the pitching staff has been able to do, is they're 5.5 behind the Tigers in the Central.
And again up the right side, foul the other way. Ned Yost, the skipper, not here. His daughter is getting married, and so he's back in Georgia attending the wedding. Gino Kadahia managing in his absence. Into center, and Desmond is there. 1 away. Well, you're right about this club. They anticipated coming out of spring training. And remember, Kansas City had a great spring. They won a ton of games. They were the talk of spring training out in Arizona. And I think they really felt that their offense was going to take care of itself. They may not be a team that's going to score tons of runs, but they thought they were going to be pretty good offensively, and were very buoyed by the fact that they had added some quality to their pitching staff.
Well, you look down through the names. Alex Gordon, they expected big things from him, and he's had a nice year, a nice run the last couple of years. Eric Hosmer, Salvador Perez, who came on, as not only a catcher but a hitter. Billy Butler. They expected Mike Moustakas to really take off. I mean, they had some pieces in place, and en masse, they've just not been able to get it done as a unit.
Lorenzo Cain has been healthy this year. He's played well. Liner into center, and there's Desmond making the catch. straight in. Another outstanding play by the Rays center fielder Desmond Jennings.
Well, Lorenzo Cain trying to drop one in front of his counterpart. And Desmond, who was shaded that way, got a nice jump, slides, and picks that ball right off the turf. Nice play.
So 2 up, 2 down. If you get back to Kansas City and the lineup, and they might still get this from the young guys on the corners, but they expected out of Moustakas at third and Hosmer at first more pop.
Yeah.
More slugging percentage, extra base hits and runs batted in than they've gotten to this point. David Lowe fouls one. Change up, little number third base side.
You know, and what ends up happening is when guys get off to a slow start or they're not performing up to expectations, and other guys in the lineup, you know, they try to pick up the slack and they maybe start trying to do too much, and then before you know it, it becomes, you know, right through the lineup. Everybody tried to do too much, over swinging, chasing balls out of the zone, getting out of their comfort zone. Fall into a collective slump.
0-2. Well, it's difficult to have 2 young hitters break in and immediately expect them to help carry your offense. You're much better off if you've got a couple of established veterans who are going to garner all the pressure and the attention, and let the young hitters develop at a pace where they become comfortable and learn how to drive runs in. And that's something that is difficult to develop if you don't have that veteran presence in the lineup.
You want to hide them.
Yeah.
You want to bring them up, kind of quietly get them into the 7 hole, 6, 7, you know, in that range, and let them develop. You don't want to have to bring them up and then boom, plug you right into the marquee spots in a lineup.
Hellickson started to walk off the mound on that one.
Can't blame him.
The count goes to 2-2. Let's take another look.
Trying to freeze him in, and this looked really good, really close.
Yeah, it was pretty close, wasn't it?
Let's see.
Right on the corner.
Well, yeah, you can't help it. You've seen that pitch called a strike so many times that your body just is heading to the dugout.
Popped up, third base side. There's Kelly Johnson making the catch. So gets his first opportunity. Bottom of the second coming up. No score.
Rays fans to get used to seeing James Shields in a Kansas City Royals uniform. In between innings, the staff at Rays Vision put together a video for the fans here at Tropicana Field to watch as they went through all the great moments for the all-time leader in wins, starts, you name it. The pitching categories, this guy leads. Number 33, James Shields, pitching some big games in his career here with Tampa Bay. And there's Shields' reaction, and he would acknowledge the crowd. Big part of this community, guys, not just with the Tampa Bay Rays on the baseball field, but what he did for the community. He and his wife Ryan with the adoptive program that they helped chair, and just really good guy all around for the Rays on the field and off the field. Back to you.
All right, Todd, thank you very much. And that was a nice touch there to welcome Shields back in here to Tampa Bay and the Tropicana Field. 1 strike or 1-0 the count here to Evan.
Yeah, I mean, what a cool moment. So appropriate and so well deserved.
Kansas City looking for Shields to do what he helped the Rays do, and he certainly has held up his end of the bargain in Kansas City. He just hasn't got many runs in support. He's pitched very well.
Well, he is 6th in the American League in earned run average at 2.79, and he has 2 wins to show for it.
Yep.
And this is a guy that, you know, he's not 5 and diving with a 2.79. You know, he's pitching deep. He's got 100 innings already. And there you go.
Look at that, 90 strikeouts, 26 walks. That's all of those vintage Shields except for the 2 and 6.
And you know what the problem is? We've obviously talked about the Kansas City Royals struggling offensively, and when he gets matched up, he's always getting matched up against Justin Verlander, CC Sabathia. He's going against all of the other team's aces. And with lack of run support, you can have that great ERA and still be 2 and 6. Got to be frustrating.
There's a shot toward the gap into left center. Gordon cuts it off, and Evan has a base hit. So the Rays have their first hit, a leadoff single from Evan Longoria in the 2nd inning. Well, from the time Shields first surfaced in the major leagues for the Rays in 2006, he did have a quality about him, a great competitor, and the one thing you knew you were going to get innings, and they were going to be quality innings.
He was one of those pitchers that would almost count backwards from 27. That's how many outs it's going to take for a complete game. And they just start counting backwards from there, and he was outstanding in that category. And interestingly enough, how about he goes over to Kansas City now, and this is a staff that in 64 starts coming into play today have gone at least 6 innings 47 times. Impressive. Being led by Shields and the guy out of the mound right now.
Santana's pitch to Loney is a strike. Well, Santana, 30 years old now. He's had some good years in the big leagues with the Angels, and then has had some seasons when he struggled. And he's coming here to Kansas City. And you look at his numbers through 12 starts, they are excellent. Ground ball first, grabbed by Hosmer. Down to 2nd, out, throw back to 1st in time with Santana getting over there to take the throw.
I never thought they were going to be able to turn that when Hosmer went down, because that's going to take time for him to unload to 2nd. And while you may get the lead man, it gives Evan a better chance to break this up and Loney to get down to first base. But the Royals do a nice job of turning it. That was really close there, but Loney rips this ball hard. Just not able to get them.
So the double play started by Hosmer. And now it's Desmond Jennings. And a tap to 3rd. Tejada. Quick toss across to 1st. And the Rays are out in the 2nd. On to the 3rd. No score. by H.H. Gregg. Couple of 1, 2, 3 innings for Hellickson as he goes out to work the third. He'll face Miguel Tejada, Elliott Johnson, and Alcides Escobar. Tejada, he was in camp as a non-roster player this spring with Kansas City. Made the team. He spent the entire season last year at Norfolk, the AAA affiliate of the Baltimore Orioles. Bouncing ball foul, strike one.
Not ready to give it up. I mean, this guy's been productive and playing for a very long time. And I'm going to tell you what, after the years that you put into the big leagues, or that he's put into the big leagues, to then say, you know what, I'm going to spend the entire year down in AAA, that speaks to the love for the game and the desire to get back. And it speaks very highly of a very productive year. Very productive career.
Launches this one not too deep, but very high into center, and Jennings is there. Don't forget, he was an MVP.
Yeah.
In 2002, the most valuable player.
And you a most valuable player, a guy who had 15 seasons, in the big leagues.
Yep.
To then say, you know what, I'll go play another year of minor league baseball to try to work my way back. I'll tell you what, that's impressive. It speaks to the quality of the individual and the desire to continue to play this great game.
And frankly, something that you don't see a lot of these days.
No. When you've made your money, you've played your 15 years, minor leagues are not for me. I'm done with that. I'm not going back to that. Wants to play baseball.
Yeah, in a way, it's kind of refreshing.
It's awesome.
You used to see that a lot when the money wasn't as big as it has been over the past couple decades. But he goes back, spends an entire year at AAA after the career he had put together, and then here he is. He's made this team, and he's willing to play all over the place for them. Just wanted to be part of a big league club again.
Yeah, and no promises. I mean, played the full year in the minor leagues and then was brought in, like you said, as a non-roster guy.
It's 1 and 2. Well, that goes back to what we were talking about with young players, and in their case on the corners. There's two young players they're trying to mix into the lineup to be producers. Well, a guy like Tejada could help the Hosmers and Moustakas and other young players going to come along.
Been there, done that. He's been on the good end of things, the bad end of things. Has had the slumps, the expectations. He's run the gamut. You're going to do that when you're an everyday player, an MVP, and you've been in the big leagues for 16 seasons now.
2 and 2 the count to Elliott Johnson, the former Ray. And it's interesting in that in some cases it's not really in vogue, unfortunately, for young players coming up to seek out a veteran maybe the way they used to. But I'll tell you, some of the guys on the Rays staff saw Shields that way, and they'll talk about it today. Alex Cobb is one of them. Johnson out on strikes. Take advantage of that experience while it's around and help that develop your own game.
I mean, it's an invaluable resource that different teams, have a number of guys that you can go to. You better believe that the influence that he had on the Rays staff, that James Shields has had on his own Kansas City staff going over there as an established veteran with a pretty substantial resume. And just the mindset. And you're right. If you're a young player, you go sit next to that. You, like a sponge, you soak it up. You ask questions. Those guys like that will help out.
Alcides Escobar takes a pitch inside. He's down to the 9th spot. He spent most of the year up hitting second. And has run into a little slump recently. His average down to 238. It's 1-1. Ellickson has retired the first 8 he has faced. A ball, 2 strikes.
Jeremy said, in my last 2 starts, I've done a better job of keeping the ball down. Haven't changed anything about my approach. Haven't changed anything about my game plan, my mix of pitches. I've just been better at keeping the ball down, and that's what Joe Madden said. He keeps the ball down. I don't care if it's middle of the plate, in, out. When he's down, he's good. He's been down tonight.
Fly ball to left. Bold is there, not yet to the track, and Sam makes the catch. 3rd consecutive 1-2-3 inning. No score through 2.5.
After a start the other night, tweeted out a nice message thanking all Rays fans for their support. Archer came up with this following tweet. He wrote, "Rays fam, thanks for the energy, thanks for the positiveness, thanks for the stripes." I talked to him about it today. He said, "Yeah, I went out there, I didn't do my best, yet I felt the support from the crowd and I appreciated it, and I wanted to express that appreciation." And one more note, there's a new Twitter handle called Stripes for Archer. They're trying to get people to wear striped clothing to the games here at the Trop with Chris Archer, and his striped socks take the hill.
Sam Fole leads off the bottom of the 3rd. Takes the first pitch for a strike. Sam out in front, swings over that pitch, and it's 0-2. Irvin Santana, 30-year-old right-hander. 1-2. You know, in the past, we've talked about pitchers who can make a pitch go one way and make it go the other way, and that's what Santana has when he's good. Not only does he give you the fastball, but that slider down and into a left-handed hitter, or the changeup fades away. And when he has all of those 3 in the mix, fastball and those 2 other pitches, that's what makes him so difficult to deal with.
And it's, you know, the changeup is primarily to the left-handed hitters, and you're right, that slider, it's so late and it's short. It's a short slider. It's not a big slider, but you know, he creates a ton of spin on it. Not easy to pick up. In fact, you know, when he faces a right-handed hitter, it's one or the other. It's fastball, slider. I mean, there really is no changeup. Very rarely does he throw a changeup to a righty.
And the count is full.
But he has been very good at keeping those two primary pitchers, fastball to slider, under control and sprinkling in the changeup for good measure.
Ground ball shortstop. Nice backhand play by Escobar in the scoop at first. That is an outstanding piece of defense right there by Escobar at short and Hosmer at first.
Absolutely. Escobar's got to move quickly to his right. Sam Folds, speed going up the baseline. So he knows I don't have any time here to set my feet on the throw. I got to get rid of this ball in a hurry. Boom. Get rid of it now and hope and expect your first baseman to make a play for you, and Hosmer does that.
And you can see how this Kansas City team could be fun to watch.
Oh, hey.
And if they could get their offense going a little bit, you know, with the kind of pitching and then this kind of defense with just a sprinkling of something above average offense in the Central Division, I'll tell you, watch this team for a while. There's a strike to Molina.
How about the two games that we had out in Kansas City where they did swing the bats pretty well? They were an exciting team. They really took to the Rays in that abbreviated series. I mean, they were athletic. They played with a ton of energy. They made plays. They swung the bats well that series. And yes, if you were a Kansas City fan for those two games, you loved what you saw. They're very exciting.
And when they had that very difficult stretch at home, their offense just completely disappeared, which over a period of 10 days to 2 weeks, sometimes a little longer, that can happen with an offense. You just hope that you can stay afloat and be close enough you can survive those stretches. Molina lifts it into center. That's Kane out there making a grab. 2 gone. We'll just take a look at Santana and what he did last year. As we look at the most improved earned run averages, Buchholz is having a little physical issue right now, but he's #1. But then Santana, 516 last year, 299 so far this year.
And he's been extremely consistent. I mean, that's the thing that you really like out of Santana, is he's giving you a chance to win each and every start. And for the season, averaging 7 per start.
A strike to Escobar.
Where would this team be without the pitching being so
That's right.
top notch?
Escobar, who's had some success in his career against Santana, behind now 2 strikes. He's hitting .412 in his big league career off Irvin Santana. It's 1-2. Escobar, a little piece of that one. Rays 3-3 on the homestand. They dropped the 2 games they played against the Royals over in Kansas City. Shot to center. Kane got a good read on it, makes the catch. Rays are up and down 1, 2, 3. On to the 4th, no score.
games as we head to the fourth. Earlier today, just after 3:30 in the afternoon, David Price with a big step in his return to the Rays. First batter he saw in the cage in his simulated game was his former teammate and buddy James Shields, who was pointing out to center field. And after a few pitches, it was on to Sean Rodriguez, Ryan Roberts, and Sam Fold. Price would throw 54 pitches in the simulated game, sitting down in between to simulate innings of rest, and got a good little workout going. We asked David after his appearance today how he felt.
Felt great. It was good to get back out there on the mound and facing hitters. Even though it's not a real game, it's my teammates. It's still good to get out there and see somebody standing in the box. It was a good day overall. I felt very strong. Arm felt good.
So, guys, leading up to the All-Star break, if you add 5 days, you can get 6 starts out of David Price, as long as everything today will feel good tomorrow. And that could be their 2 minor league starts and 4 at the big league level, beginning with Detroit at the end of the month, or 3 at the minor leagues and 3 at the big leagues, beginning with Houston, the first series of July. But either way, David Price on the road back.
Well, that's good news. Good news for the Rays and for David. 1-1. And he's come out of every time he's thrown on the side and now the simulated game saying the same thing. He feels great.
Well, and when you watch him throw, it passes the eye test. He looks like he's throwing the ball free and easy. It's jumping out of his hand. Doesn't look like he's holding anything back. So it's all good from that end. And just get him out there, get him the work, get his pitch count built back up to where you're comfortable with his stamina, and you turn him loose.
Jeremy Hellickson ahead of Alex Gordon in the count, 1-2. Lines it into right. 2 hops in front of Joyce, and that's the first hit. First base runner for Kansas City tonight.
Now, that was a nice job by Alex Gordon. A changeup by Jeremy Hellickson, and he stayed on it. Did not get himself out in front. Was able to stay back and shoot that ball into right field. Watch him stay back on this changeup. Not fooled at all.
Eric Hosmer in the batter's box. Opening curveball misses, 1-0. Well, Gordon with that base hits, now 5 out of 11 in his career off Hellickson. Butler, the other hitter, as we mentioned the first time he was up, has had some success against Hellickson. Those are the 2 notables. That's a strike at the knees, a fastball to Hosmer, 1-1. So Jeremy retired the first 9 before giving up the base hit to Gordon. Here's a strike, 1-2. Miss. Hosmer tried to jump all over the curveball and missed it. Second strikeout for Hellickson. Out number 1 here in the fourth. Tonight's broadcast is on AFN, the American Forces Network, broadcasting to the U.S. Armed Forces, serving in 175 countries and aboard ships at sea. We're watching around the world in Iraq, Germany, Italy, Southwest Asia, South Korea, and Japan. We welcome you and salute you. Salvador Perez, the catcher. a strike. Perez up in the 3rd spot in the order. He's been up there for 8 games, and they've won 7 of those 8 games with him hitting 3rd. Ground ball, Escobar, Zobrist, floating, 6-4, 3 and out on the double play. On to the bottom of the 4th we go, no score. No score with Kansas City in the game tonight. And all season long, Tires Plus donates $100 to the Pediatric Cancer Foundation for every Tampa Bay Rays home run televised on Sun Sports. Top of the order, Matt Joyce will lead off. Joyce, Zobrist, and then Johnson. Well, Matt has been in that leadoff spot a lot. He has bounced down to the 9th spot, back to the leadoff spot, showing that he can hit a home run from either position in the lineup.
Yeah, that was the other interesting thing that Joe did. Matt Joyce from 1 to 9, back to 1. It's all about matchups and where he thinks his offense can put innings together.
The pitch is a first pitch strike. He does have a couple home runs off Santana. 4 out of 14 with those 2 home runs. It's a ball and a strike. Two and one. You can see 9 of 10 hitters first pitch strikes for Santana tonight.
Well, that puts him in the catbird seat and allows that very good slider to come into play. He's been spot on with the command so far.
2 and 2. Cut and a miss. 1 away.
You know, you could see right there the changeup grip before he threw that pitch and really sold it after the breaking ball. You see the hand in the glove right there. He's got it ready to go. And now you got to think 4-seam fastball. I'm going to blow this by you. Let it fly. Look at the action. And Matt Joyce way out in front.
Well, Ben Zobrist in there now. And that pitch is a strike, a little slider. Well, we saw the changeup to Joyce and then that little slider to Zobrist. Now a fastball at 96 off the plate in. 1-1. And when Joe Madden talked about Zobrist and Johnson and their matchups against him, he said there are elements that concern you about Santana, and we've just seen him right there. He said if they get the slider down, they'll swing over it, and that's a problem for anybody, regardless of what your numbers may or may not be in the past off him. And he talked about that changeup and the slider, and that slider, we've seen a couple of them here to Zobrist as he's gotten ahead.
Yeah, look at this thing take off down and in. It's got such tight spin. You know, it's not wobbly. He commands it well.
I think Madden's point about that is you could be 10 out of 12 or 2 out of 12 against him. He throws you that slider and you can't lay off it, and it's difficult not to go after it. That's going to be a problem. Tap to the right side. Santana will cover. Takes the toss from Hosmer.
Well, the other thing we've seen Santana do, and we haven't seen a lot of pitchers, I shouldn't say a lot, but it's been something that has stood out recently, not getting over on ground balls to the right side. You remember he was at the receiving end of that double play from Hosmer when he went down, busting it over to first base, busting it over there. But getting back to your point about pitches, that's why when a guy is locked in like Santana has been, he's 4-5 on the season, not all his fault because the ERA's under 3. But you've just got to take advantage of the handful of mistakes that he's going to make during the course of the start. Listen, he's got good command and good stuff. He's not going to have perfect command for 100 pitches. He's going to miss some. So when he does, you've got to capitalize.
Kelly Johnson takes the fastball in off the plate.
And that's the key. The better pitchers have fewer mistakes, and that's why they're tough to beat. They don't give you many opportunities.
It's a 2-0 count. Well, the other side of those matchups is the ability to put the ball into play. And if you can do that, as opposed to a lot of swings and misses. Now it's 3-0. Well, that just hit him. Just got a little piece of the pant leg. So Santana gives up the hit batter.
Yeah, just got right left leg right near the shin. Got more pant than shin.
Kelly Johnson aboard with 2 outs for Evan Longoria. Evan with a base hit his first time. And he takes the ball. Take a look at our Toyota trend on Longoria. Last 5 games, 350, 3 home runs in the Boston series.
1 in each game.
Takes a strike. 1-1. 6 of 13. That includes the base hit tonight in his career against Santana. That is strike 2. A couple of sliders in the sequence.
Yeah, and that one's better than the previous. This is a good one here. He sweeps off the plate. You know, we have seen Santana change the plane and break on that pitch. Some a little bit tighter, with a little bit more depth, and a couple that have been more of the sweeping variety.
2-2.
That would be one of the latter.
Now, Santana has known success before. He won 17 games with the Angels in 2010. A couple years before that, he had won 16. Twice in his career, he's finished his season with 16 wins, and the other one 17. Make another 2-2 pitch. That ball foul. He's been under 500 the last couple of years with the Angels, particularly last year 9-13 with a .516 earned run average. And he's always been home run prone. He gave up 39 home runs last year. Has given up 14 this year as well as he's pitched. Now the count is full. Thirty-year-old right-hander out of the Dominican Republic. The pitch is strike 3. He threw him the slider 3-2. Longoria tried to check, and on the appeal, Mike Winters says he went around, and that will retire the Rays. We're through 4, no score. Scoreless. Time now for the Just for Men Auto Stop Foolproof stat. The most home runs among active players under 28. So the future would bode well if you're on this list. And 2 of the 6 are in this game tonight. Evan Longoria and Billy Butler.
And we've seen plenty of Adam Jones. We saw Carlos Gonzalez earlier this year.
Well, Longoria ended the 4th. We go to the 5th, and here's Billy Butler. Been DHing for the 2nd straight time. Butler, pretty much a steady diet of the designated hitter's role. That's a strike.
There was a fella on that list, Wayne, named Jay Bruce.
Yes.
You heard of him?
Yes.
He's a good player.
Yes, he is.
Him and Joey Votto make a nice tandem.
They do.
We don't get to see him that much.
Nope.
Catch the highlights.
1-1.
And
would you like to see more of the National League? Is that what you're inferring?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Perfectly content in the AL East.
Just wanted to make sure.
I liked playing in the National League. It's more of a backyard kind of a game where the pitcher gets to hit.
Yeah.
But I like where I'm at.
Okay. Pitch inside, 2-1.
I'm not demanding a trade.
Okay, good. Butler, Kane, and Lowe due up. Baltimore leads Boston 3-2 in the top of the 4th. It's going to be a base hit into center field for Butler. Butler using his reach right there.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I'm like, great plate coverage by Billy Butler on a breaking ball down in the zone. You can see he's pretty close to the plate anyway, but able to just go out there and lengthen that swing and pop that ball right through the middle.
Hey, here's the thing about the Boston-Baltimore game. Felix Dubron, who takes a lot of time, I mean a lot of time on the mound, is pitching for Boston. Their game started 30 minutes before our game. And we're in the top of the 5th. They're in the top of the 4th. 3-2 Baltimore.
Well, you know what? If we're going to go down that road, then let's just talk about last night's debacle of a ball game. Okay, not only was it a tough loss for the Rays,
yes,
but you're talking about a 9-inning, 2-1 ball game with 10 combined hits that was approaching 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
3:22.
Give me a break. 2-1 game with 10 hits combined.
Well, we touched on it briefly during the Boston series. They have been running not front page of the sports section, front page of their local newspapers.
Yeah.
On the length of Red Sox games in Boston and what can be done about it.
I mean, listen, a 2-1 game with 10 hits is usually a pretty snappy boom, boom, going right through it. And it just drug on and on. It was the most pathetic 2-1 game I've sat through.
3 hours and 22 minutes for a 2-1 game.
10 hits.
Should be about a 2:22 game.
Really? It's the only time I wish for the 70s again.
The chopper, foul outside the third. Miles Diaz on the call, and the count is 1-2. Well, the Rays have had a couple of those short games like that this year, and you do get into a nice rhythm where the game just flows. And I thought it was interesting because the AL East, because of the nature of the offense primarily, but the Yankees have played long games, the Red Sox are playing long games. American League generally will play a little longer because of the DH. But it's become an issue up there in the newspapers in Boston.
Well, they see the most pitches of any team in baseball, and because they have an accomplished group offensively, they not only see a ton of pitches, but they foul off a ton of pitches. They extend at-bats. They've got pitchers that work at a snail's pace. All sets up.
Hellickson strikes out Kane. Third strikeout for Hellickson tonight.
How about this? Change-up right down the middle. But it's all about the arm action. All about the arm action, and good finish out in front.
I'm telling you, a guy like Hellickson, you talk about pitchers being tough, but who's a gutty pitcher and who might not be. A guy who throws a changeup like that, he's got to be the toughest guy going.
Well, you got to have
the bravest guy.
You got to have a lot of trust in your stuff.
I mean, trust and courage. There's a strike.
I mean, you're going to lay this pitch right. And that's what we've seen. A lot of times, and when I was throwing my changeup, I was trying to throw my changeup to the outer half, outer third. You see these Rays pitchers.
Yeah.
They'll throw changeup middle, and just bank on the fact that the action is going to take it down to the ground, or that the Bugs Bunny version, one you see from Hellickson, it's just never going to get there, and guys are going to swing and be way out in front. And I'll tell you, when you're able to throw that pitch out over the plate, you're not trying to hit a corner necessarily. You're throwing it right out over the plate, and those hitters see four-seam spin, and they see it in the middle of the plate. They're trying to jump out there and crush this thing, and it just never gets there. They have that kind of ability.
1-1 to David Lowe. A 2-1 count. 1 on, 1 out. We're in the 5th. Scoreless game here, the Rays and the Royals. ball lifted right back into center. Desmond Jennings in about 3 steps. 2 gone. Don't forget, your kid's favorite rock band is coming to Tropicana Field. The Imagination Movers set to perform Sunday, the 16th of June, after the Rays take on the Royals during Family Fun Day, presented by the Tampa Bay Times. Everyone is invited onto the field to dance along with the Disney Junior Stars. Visit RaysBaseball.com/concerts. 2 outs with Butler aboard. Now Miguel Tejada. Butler opened with a base hit, still at first. 2 outs later. Erickson misses in with a fastball. 1 ball, no strikes. That Yankee Oakland game, last time we checked in, top of the 16th, they were tied 2-2 in Oakland. Want to know the count to Tejada. Oakland came close to ending that game in the bottom of the 15th. 1-1. Brandon Moss tried to score on a base hit by Coco Crisp and was thrown out at the plate. Boy, we've had some long extra inning games here the last week or 10 days. Ground ball sharply struck to short. Escobar to Zobrist for the force. Home half of the 5th coming. No score.
In a long one with the Oakland A's out on the West Coast today. Dwayne mentioned an exciting bottom half of the 15th. First and second, 1 out. Coco Crisp with a pinch hit single. Vernon Wells comes in on 1 hop. Brandon Moss trying to win the game, and a throw on the fly. Austin Romine holds on, says CB Bucknor, as the Oakland A's fail to score in the bottom of the 15th. They go to the 16th inning, 2 outs. Yankees batting, still tied at 2. In Oakland. Back to you guys.
CB Buckner still very energetic.
Yes, he was.
Late in that game.
Emphatic with that call.
James Loney will open the bottom of the 5th. Loney, Jennings, and Fold facing Santana. 2 balls, no strikes. Rays opening a 4-game series here with Kansas City, extending through Sunday, which will be Father's Day. Down the left field side, that's going to fall just foul. The count goes to 2-1. How about the Kansas City Royals? What a great gesture. On this road trip, they've invited fathers to accompany the players and staff on their swing here in to play the Rays, and then they go to Cleveland, I think, on their next stop. And they've got 20 or 25 of their dads on this road trip with them.
What a great idea.
I mean,
what a great idea. Living the dream.
Yeah, otherwise they would be away on Father's Day. 2-2, and so they turn it from a potential negative into a positive.
And isn't that the story of life, D-Wayne?
That's what we should all attempt to do.
Let's take this moment.
Down the left side, that's going to be out of reach. The count is still 2-2. Speaking of positives, just a reminder as you enjoy a cold one to look forward to Miller Time later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite.
I will. I'm thinking the 7th tonight. First night.
Really?
Yeah. Early last night, but the 7th tonight. Sounds good.
Ground ball. Oh, just foul. Mike Winters on the call. It wasn't foul by much.
No, and Loney having a hard time keeping between the white lines. He's gone up the left field line twice. This one, he pulls just wide. Making a bid here in this scoreless game. Get a quick start here for the Rays in the 5th.
Look at this. Wow. You can't get much closer than that and have it not be fair. Well, he'll try the left side again with some hang time on this one. Enough for Gordon to get over and make the catch, and that ball was just foul. 1 away. It's been all pitching tonight. Santana and Hellickson. Now Desmond Jennings. Desmond takes a strike. He grounded out his first time. Foul out of play. 0-2. Kansas City closing out a 7-2 homestand. They beat the Tigers in 10 innings, 3-2 yesterday. Broken bat. Ball right back to the mound, and Santana with a toss to first retires Jennings. And the barrel end of the bat, what was left of it, out near the shortstop spot.
Right off the end, obviously, this ball working its way off the plate away by a couple inches. Too close to take, though, and makes for an easy play for Santana. And the bat sent off to the Major League Baseball study. Ongoing.
Sanford lines it into left, and that's going to hang up for Gordon to make the grab on. And the Rays are up and down 1-2-3. To the 6th we go. No score. Pitching through the front 5 of this one, Jeremy Hellickson, coming off 6 shutout innings against Baltimore and a victory, has thrown 5 shutout innings tonight, matched by Irvin Santana, who has pitched without a lot of support this year. As we check their lines, very similar, 5 innings. The Rays, no runs, 1 hit, 5 innings. Kansas City, no runs, 2 hits. Santana right around 60 pitches. Hellickson at 66. And Elliott Johnson leads off the top half of the 6th. Elliott struck out on a changeup his first time. And the pitch is a strike. Elliott Johnson has a home run, and it came off Jeremy Hellickson in Kansas City. Hellickson gave up 4 runs in 5 innings in that game. And Elliott Johnson opened the scoring with a home run in the bottom of the 3rd. Two and one. Elliott Johnson, a popular presence here when he wore a Rays uniform.
Yeah, he was versatile. He was a high energy guy. You didn't wonder when Joe Madden put him out in the lineup and asked him to do whatever, that he was going to give you max effort. Those guys are valuable.
He lines this one into right for a base hit. Leadoff single in the 6th. So there he is, leading off. Another leadoff single, 3rd inning in a row that the Royals have put the leadoff man on.
This ball just misses its location. With that ball outer half, it ends up inner half. Elliott Johnson gets the head move zone. Leadoff man aboard. Interesting too. 0-0 ball game here in the 6th inning. Both teams not been able to get anything done, even really mount much of a threat, if any threat. You got some speed on the base paths and a pitcher on the mound who's very good at controlling the running game.
Alcides Escobar. First pitch to him is inside.
This is where a manager, if they feel comfortable with the hitter at the plate being able to handle the bat, you may not go for a straight steal off Jeremy Hellickson, but maybe you put Elliott Johnson in motion, a little hit and run, try to create something that way. Just playing it straight up has not worked out for either team.
Over to first, and Johnson is back in. Gino Cadahia managing the Royals tonight in the absence of Ned Yost.
This Kansas City Royals team, they will run. They're tied for 2nd in the American League in stolen bases, been caught just 11 times. But Jeremy good at holding on, quick to the plate.
Runner goes, the pitch is foul back.
Now there was your hit and run. Elliott off and running, and Escobar putting a swing on that pitch, trying to hit the ball the other way.
Escobar originally came up with the Brewers, went to Kansas City in 2011. He was part of the Zach Greinke deal that also involved Lorenzo Cain and Jake Odorizzi. Keeping an eye on Johnson at first base right there.
No, he's got a big lean and that right leg a little bit open so that he can he does take off for second base and he has that hip cleared and ready to go.
Quick move over. Johnson again back in. Escobar got off to a good start this year. He bunts the ball. Third base side. It's going to roll foul. Well, Kelly Johnson making his first start at third base, but he can recognize that that ball was headed into foul territory and let it roll.
Well, it looked good off the bat. You see where that's going to land, and look at that. That checked up. It's going to too much momentum to stay inside that line.
When the Rays played the Royals in Kansas City, Escobar was hitting over 290. This time in 237. Finished last year hitting 293. Elliott Johnson is single to open the inning. That's fair by the bag and up the line. Gold will have to play the carom. Johnson's going to go to third, and they will stop him there. A double for Escobar, and now a major threat by Kansas City.
Well, the Royals just looking to move Elliott Johnson, trying to get him to second base and manufacture something, and finally get to 2 strikes. Another mislocation. This meant to be away. It stays in, and Escobar yanks the hands through and rips his ball right down the line.
Well, a tough spot with Alex Gordon coming up. Gordon 1 for 2 tonight, and as we mentioned at the outset, hitting over 370 on the road this year coming into this game. And with men in scoring position, that 367 average 6th in the league.
And this is where Jeremy Hellickson has really struggled, where he's been very good the last couple of years, not so much this year. Runners in scoring position.
And a liner base hit. First pitch fastball. Johnson has scored. They're going to hold Escobar. And it's 1-0 Kansas City. 3 consecutive hits, and Gordon wasted no time in sending the fastball right back into center.
Well, hitting with a little bit of confidence now, because if you remember, his last base hit came off a pretty good changeup that he stayed right on. And anticipating fastball there, he gets one and just shoots it right back up the middle.
So a leadoff single by Johnson. One nothing Kansas City. Jerry Hosmer. Hosmer nothing of 2. He takes a big cut. The Royals celebrating a run.
How about that? By fake chugging Kansas City barbecue sauce, I'm assuming. It's a different generation, D-Wayne.
I like the barbecue sauce.
I love the Kansas City barbecue sauce. Don't get me wrong.
I got you.
I just don't see where that fits into a run scored.
2 strikes on Hosmer.
Maybe that's why I'm up here and not down there. I got a trick knee.
This one skipping away from Molina down the line from third. Escobar scores. Breaking ball in the dirt. And Escobar crosses the plate on the wild pitch to make it 2-0.
Here you go. Molina goes down to block it, but as it hits him and caroms off to the left, too much speed on third, and Molina's got to go too far to track that ball down. Good read there by Escobar.
Pitch is down. He blocks this one. Another curveball. Count is 2-2. As the Royals have taken a 2-0 lead on the Rays. Kansas City as a team hitting .283 with men in scoring position. Fly ball lifted into center. Desmond makes the catch. Hosmer reaching for that changeup is out number one.
D. Wayne, I got some clarification on the barbecue sauce.
All right.
It's Billy Butler's Hit It a Ton barbecue sauce.
Oh,
and it's made by in Kansas City, made by Zarda Barbecue.
Yep.
And it's for his charity. And they used it as like a good luck rally sauce type of deal last homestand. They went 7-2.
Yeah.
So now they're taking it on the road show.
Well,
so there you go.
Seems like a good reason.
Not bad.
It seems to be working.
It does.
Yep.
So there you go. I'm going to shut up now.
And a great tie-in with Kansas City.
Right.
Yep.
Teammate, charity, barbecue sauce, all good.
The strike. Hard to go wrong with barbecue sauce. It just lends itself to a good time and charity and success.
How about this? I want a bottle of that barbecue sauce to go with my new Rays apron for the Sunday day game. How does that sound?
Sounds perfect. What time do we come over?
5:30, 6 o'clock would be hors d'oeuvres and refreshments.
All right. Everybody at BA's place. Base hit up the middle. Perez has driven in the run. Throw hits the mound and bounds to Molina as Gordon scores. And Kansas City suddenly has put up 3 here in the 6th inning.
Well, Elliott Johnson, Alcides Escobar took advantage of mislocations, and then all of a sudden you turn it around to Gordon and Perez, and they've used the middle of the field off Jeremy Hellickson. And that's been the change of approach here. This ball right down the middle, and Perez right back up the middle.
And you know, the point you make underscores part of the conversation I had with Joe Madden when we were talking about making up his lineup and how he analyzes breaking down this game, and it really comes down to pitchers having command of the strike zone and hitters having what would be their own command of the strike zone as a hitter.
Yep.
And we've seen that break down a little bit for Hellickson here in the 6th inning.
Well, you know, we talk about that's why we harp so much on command as opposed to throwing strikes. You know, Jeremy Hellickson has been much better this year at throwing strikes.
Yes.
But he's been wild within the strike zone, especially with runners in scoring position. And that is what has led to teams being able to do what Kansas City's done this inning and put some hits back to back to back to drive in some runs.
You know, there are a lot of ways to try to break down this game. And when you look at it at the expanse of field out there, as big as it is, it comes down to a small zone for a pitcher or a hitter and whether they can command that zone or not.
Execution.
Yep.
Best game plan in the world for a pitcher. Best plan going up to the plate for a hitter. But if you don't execute, it doesn't matter. Jeremy Hellickson knows how he wants to pitch these guys. It comes down, the reason that the game is played and it's not done on paper is to see if you can take what's on paper and apply it out in the real world.
That's right.
And that comes down to execution. Whoever does it better wins, especially at this level where the margin for error is so very small. And the talent is these are the best players in the world. You talk about the top 750 people at anything. The margin for error from 1 to 750, if you're going to rank them,
that's right,
isn't that big relative to the rest of the population. So all of these players are good, and it just comes down to being able to execute. That's it.
Commanding your zone.
Yeah, and guess what? Command doesn't necessarily mean strikes. I may want to throw that 0-2 pitch 3 or 4 inches off the plate, see if he'll chase. And I do it, and he doesn't swing. I still commanded that pitch, even though it was a ball.
And a strike, 2-2. And if you can make a good pitch, and we're talking earlier about Santana, the slider. Can you lay off that slider? If a hitter can, he's commanding his area.
And a hitter can tell you, hey, listen, I'm gonna lay off that slider down and away. When I see it coming out, I'm glad you feel that way. Now, can you go do it?
Yeah.
That's where rubber meets the road, baby.
A little chopper, that's going to go through the right side. They started Perez, and look at Butler just chop it through the vacant right side of the infield.
Bat control. How about that bat control? Perez on the move. Billy Butler trying to stay inside the baseball. Hits a 14 hopper to the right side that was vacated by Ben Zobrist. Well, actually not started to go, but had a huge hole to work with and just dribbles it through. Look at him try to stay inside this ball.
So the Royals have it at first and third. Jim Hickey to the mound to talk things over. And let's go to Todd, who will talk things over.
Yeah, let's talk things over about a Twitter poll. Dwayne, you know that trade December 9th that involved the Royals and the Tampa Bay Rays. Which end of the James Shields, Will Myers trade? What do you think about it? Do you hashtag TB1? Do you like it? You love Will Myers' numbers he's putting down at AAA Durham. Hashtag TB2, miss this guy. Don't like it. Hashtag TB3, let's reserve judgment on whether or not we like the trade or not. Tweet your votes to @SunSportsRays. You see what James Shields has done. The Rays will see Wade Davis here on Sunday. Elliott Johnson has scored the first run of the inning. Jake Odorizzi you saw warming up, and Will Myers putting up big numbers this year at AAA, guys.
All right. Wade Davis will be making a start in this series. We will not see James Shields on the mound. Lorenzo Cain in the batter's box. And the pitch is a strike. 3 runs, 7 hits now for Kansas City. 5 of the hits and all 3 of the runs coming here in this inning. Play 0-2. Well, a lot of pitches here in this inning. Erickson over 90 for the night. Sailing right along through the first 5.
He's got this count in his corner, 0-2. He needs to coax a ground ball double play here out of Cain. Get out of this inning.
We're going into the 18th inning in Oakland. The Yankees and the A's 2-2. There's strike 3 call. Cain takes a second look. Called out on strikes by Tim Timmons.
Now, the next best thing to the double play would be to pick up the strikeout, just like Jeremy did. You get the out without the benefit of the ball being put into play, and you keep that runner at third. Well done.
Cain didn't like the call.
Don't have to. Just have to abide by it.
Here's David Lowe. Low, nothing of 2. curveball to start him as a strike. Well, after the base hit by Butler, setting up first and third with 3 runs in. A strikeout of Kane big, and an opening breaking ball for a strike to get ahead of Lowe. Liner into right field for a base hit. Here comes another run in. Perez crosses the plate. Butler to second. Lowe lines a fastball into right for the RBI single.
Boy, nice job by Lowe of pulling the hands through. I'll tell you what, the Kansas City Royals approach now coming through the 3rd time through the order has gotten a lot better. Not trying to do too much. Hit the ball up the middle when needed. And for them, they've gotten some pitches to hit.
Here's Miguel Tejada. He becomes the 9th man to bat in the 6th in a 4-run inning so far. Pitch inside. Going to be foul, lined out of play. A 1-1 count. Well, Santana has had problems getting run support this year. The Royals have put 4 up for him here. He got 7 his last time out when he beat Houston 7-2. But those 7 runs turned out to be 1 more than the total he received in his 5 previous outings. And there's one past the diving Johnson up the left field line. Butler's on his way to the plate. He scores. Lowe stops at third as Tejada, with a 2-base hit, makes it a 5-run inning for Kansas City.
Tejada get the head out. Kelly Johnson, this is a bullet. He tries to dive, make the play, and just cannot get the glove there in time.
Tejada's 2nd double of the year, driving in his 9th run. And the Royals will send Elliott Johnson to the plate for the 2nd time in this inning. Five runs, 9 hits for the Royals. 7 hits here in the 6th inning. It was Johnson's base hit. He got ahead 3-1 and lined a single into right. That started it. It's 1-1. This will be the 34th pitch of the inning coming, and number 100 on the night for Hellickson. High fly ball hit deep to right. Joyce is going to go back and run out of room. That one is gone. Kansas City really breaks it open here in the 6th inning as Elliott Johnson unloads a 3-run home run on the 100th pitch of the night made by Jeremy Hellickson. The Royals have scored 8 times here to take an 8-0 lead. Elliott Johnson's 2nd home run of the year, both coming off Hellickson. So Joe Madden comes out to make the Metro PCS call to the bullpen. scoring coming here in the 6th. And Elliott Johnson, who started the inning with a base hit and scored, became the 10th hitter to bat in this inning, has just hit a 3-run home run. And now Jake Odorizzi will take over for Jeremy Hellickson. Odorizzi making his 3rd appearance for the Rays. Escobar fouls this one right back into the upper deck. Strike 1. Boy, that's difficult to behold. Hellickson's 6th inning here. You talk about the roof falling in. Check swing and a hopper back front of the mound. Odorizzi's throw to first. 11 men come to the plate. The Royals score 8-3 coming on the topper. The home run by Elliott Johnson. And it's 8-0 Kansas City. Sports is brought to you by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Visit your Honda dealer for great lease and finance deals on fuel-efficient Hondas. By This Is the End, now playing in theaters. And by Checkers. Feast on. Well, a big inning for Kansas City. A big inning for Elliott Johnson. And to the mound goes Santana. He doesn't know what to do with a lead this big.
This is the amount of runs he's seen in the last month.
Molina with a ground ball headed up the middle. There's a base hit. Jose Molina goes after the first pitch and rolls the fastball into center field.
Well, I'll say this. If the Rays can do that 10, 12 more times, we're going to have ourselves a ball game.
Well, let's just see.
Never know.
Yep.
You never know.
Joe Madden's trying to figure out what's going on with Jeremy Hellickson.
Well,
how about these outings for him?
They are beyond bizarre. And we've seen him have an inning not quite that bad, but rough innings early. That's been the theme, or the first run innings, and then he would calm down from there, until later in the game, maybe give up a couple more, or maybe not. But he put together those long stretches of being dominant. In tonight's game, he's dominant 1 through 5.
Yep.
And then 8 hits, 8 runs in the 6th out of nowhere. And you're starting off down at the bottom of the lineup that particular inning, but there were a couple of mislocations early.
Yeah, now Hellickson was saying the other day he really thinks coming into this start that if you look at some of the rough outings he's had, a minimum number of pitches have cost him a lot of runs at crucial times in games. So 3 or 4 pitches could lead to 8 or 10 or 12 of the runs he's given up. Ball in the dirt, skips away from Perez, and Molina moves up to second base on a wild pitch.
And gets a nice ovation. Well, and you know, we talked about his struggles with runners in scoring position this year. See this ball out in front of the plate. Tough block for Perez, and not able to keep it within striking distance. Good anticipation by Molina. And up to second he goes. You know, but today, you know, there were a few pitches that were pretty good pitches that the Royals put into play, but a lot of mislocation, and again, pitches that had a little bit more elevation than what we've seen the last couple of starts from Jeremy, and those were taken advantage of.
And that's the one thing that Madden continued to talk about over the last few starts. He's got to keep the ball down more.
Well, he doesn't have blow you away overpowering stuff. He's got a good mix, move it around, change speeds, keep hitters off balance. We've seen him have success, you know, rookie of the year. I mean, you know, this guy knows what he's doing out there. It's just a matter of execution. And right now, in today's ball game, the pitches started to come up just a touch. There were a couple of balls he wanted away that ended up middle in. And Kansas City, to their credit, they didn't miss the mistakes, and that's the key.
Tejada at third. Wide throw that skips by. Goes into foul territory. That's going to allow Molina to score. Escobar with a chopper to third, and Tejada throws it away. The Rays have a run.
Now that was a routine play there for Tejada. How about the base running of Molina? Moves up on the wild pitch, and then he waits for Tejada to throw that ball, and then he's going to take third. Right here, Tejada just rushes that throw and is way wide. There he goes. Read the throw, and he's gone. Make a left turn. Just like you're in NASCAR.
So Tejada charged with an error. Molina scores. Escobar at first. Matt Joyce swings through it. Strike one. Two. Broken bat, a little looper, and it's going to be over the head of Escobar into left. Yunel Escobar moves into second base, and Joyce has a single. Just got it out of the reach of Alcides Escobar.
Well, now they only need 9 or 10 more. 9 or 10 more. They're closing in already. 0-2, and Matt Joyce going out there just to try to put the ball in play. Look at this pitch off the plate. Good extension there. That ball right off the end of the bat, but just enough to get it out there. And 3 straight Rays have reached, 1 has scored.
Well, the Rays suffering through an 8-run Kansas City 6th. Now with a run home. Somebody pops a long one. Whole different situation.
Yeah. Well, that's the one thing that we know about the Rays is they're not going to quit in a ball game. They're going to continue to fight for every last out. So you're just trying to give them a finish here and put yourself into position of being able to do something late.
Yep. Well, that's the thing you really have to not only respect, but on an emotional level, really like about this ball club. I mean, that was a demoralizing top half of the 6th. But they'll come back and try to chip away. 2 strikes the count to Zobrist. Rays had had only one hit through the first 5. A couple of hits here in the 6th to go with the error. Nice job by Zobrist to lay off the 0-2 slider. It's 1-2. Down and covered up by Perez. 2-2. It's a ground ball back at first and just foul. Hosmer with the pickup. Mike Winters with the call. He's had a couple of close calls down there at first.
Very close call, and I'm going to tell you what, that would have been interesting to see that race, Zobrist and Santana closing in on first base, because Hosmer is going to have to throw that ball to Santana right crossing in front of Zobrist. That would have been
And don't forget, Santana does give up a lot of home runs, so if you can get some people on base, you got a shot at a big inning. And the count is full. 14 home runs allowed by Santana so far this year.
This is a huge pitch. Huge pitch. Doesn't go his way. You got potential for bases loaded, nobody out. Coming right through the heart of that Rays lineup.
3-2. And a line drive going to be backhanded by Escobar, who goes to second for the double play. And Johnson looked to first, but no chance. He was thinking triple play right there. Zobrist hit a line drive.
Here it is, big secondary lead there by Escobar, and that ball smoked behind him. No chance. I mean, even if he freezes on that line drive and heads back, he probably has no chance.
Yeah, you're right. So that's a tough break for the Rays. Hard hit line drive. And it turns out to be a double play. Joyce at first, 2 outs in the 6th. There's Kelly Johnson. And he takes a strike. One and one. Advances the count to 1-2. Santana came into the game having made 13 career starts against the Rays with a .547 earned run average and a 5-6 record. Covered up again by Perez. It's been a busy inning here for Salvador Perez in the bottom of the 6th. Fly ball lifted into center. Kane is there. And the Rays settled for 1 run. We're through 6. It's 8-1.
Remember that game against the Boston Red Sox that went 5 hours and 24 minutes here at Tropicana Field, where the Yankees and the A's just eclipsed that by 11 minutes. They actually played 18 innings today. Mariano Rivera to Nate Fryman, runners on every base. Bases were juiced, and he drops in that single. John Jaso, who opened the inning against Preston Claiborne with a single, went first to third nicely on a Seth Smith single, would score the game winner. Nobody in that game scored from the third inning until the game winner in the 18th. Oakland walks it off 3-2, guys.
All right, Todd, thanks for the update on that one. How about that? 18 innings. So the game-winning hit by Fryman off Rivera, but Rivera, who came in with one out and a man on, is not the losing pitcher. Meanwhile, we go to the 7th inning. It's 8-1, Kansas City leading. 1-0 the count to Alex Gordon, top of the order. And go to Rizzi on the hill for the Rays. 1-1 count. Gordon missing a fastball. 5 2/3 for Hellickson, 10 hits, 8 runs. He struck out 4, didn't walk anybody. Made 100 pitches. And the breakout on him through the first 5 innings. 2 hits, no runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts. Pristine for 5 innings. 2/3 of an inning in the 6th, 8 hits, 8 runs. And see you later. 2-2. It's 3-2. Rizzi strikes out Gordon. It's the first out in the 7th inning. Get ready to fire up the grill in style. The Rays apron, modeled after the jerseys the Rays wear. This apron available only by purchasing the Tampa Bay Times ticket tandem for any game during the series against the Royals. Starting today through the 16th. Visit RaysBaseball.com/tandem for more info. Hosmer hits a drive back into deep left center, and that one is out of here. Eric Hosmer on the first pitch he sees from Odorizzi hits his 2nd home run of the year. That will make it 9-1.
That is Exhibit A on why expectations for the power numbers of Eric Hosmer to be much better are there. The ability, this is not an easy place to hit the ball out of the ballpark, and especially when you're talking about going the other way with authority and deep and out of here. And that's why you expect him to have more than just 1 home run at this point in the season. Not easy to do that.
Perez takes a pitch inside, so now the Royals have a run off the former Kansas City Royal, Jake Odorizzi. Breaking ball in.
A slow break. I mean, he really makes that thing spin, takes off some miles per hour. And that was a pitch that we really liked in his debut with the Rays. His first start, thought that curveball came better than advertised.
1-2 the count. And the fastball fouled straight back, and that's going to be into the deck above us and out again. One-two pitch one more time. It's fouled. Well, the Royals offensively relatively quiet through the first 5, have become downright offensive here in the last couple innings. 2-2 now. And the off-speed pitch is popped up. That curveball, and Escobar takes care of the popper. Had Perez reaching and out in front. 2 gone. Here's Billy Butler. Butler now 2 for 3. A ball, no strikes. Check swing and a foul ball that takes it to 1-1. Fouls a fastball. 1 ball, 2 strikes. This one pounded back into center field. Jennings on the run in front of the track, makes the catch. That'll retire Kansas City in the 7th with a run, making it 9-1. Dealer at Operation Gratitude will provide a care package to our troops for every test drive taken from June 13th through the 16th. See your Southern Ford dealer and go further to help our military. On to the bottom of the 7th inning from Tropicana Field tonight. Kansas City building a 9-1 lead on the strength of an 8-run 6th. Evan Longoria leads off the home half of the 7th, and he looks at a strike from Irvin Santana. Evan lifts the fly ball into left toward the line. Alex Gordon under it. 1 away. So this Kansas City team and their win to finish off their homestand over Detroit, they were blank for the first 26 outs of the day. They tied the contest when Lorenzo Cain hit a 2-run homer on an 0-2 count against the Tigers, against Jose Valverde. And then they won it in the 10th inning on Eric Hosmer's base hit. Luke Scott will now bat for Loney. Goes after the first one, hits it a long way to the opposite field. That's going to be off the wall. He's on his way to second. Gordon got a good care of him, and the throw is not in time. Scott in there with a double.
I'll tell you what, that smile from Luke Scott, you hope that this is an indication of things to come. You know, Joe Madden said, think that he's at times overanalyzing things up there, and he'd rather have him just throw caution to the wind, go up there and take a rip. Well, that's what he did right there, and he smoked that ball to left field.
You know, interesting, Scott has a history of success against Santana as well. Coming in 8 out of 21 with a couple of home runs off him. So he went up there and jumped on the first pitch and doubles.
And I think that, you know, normally when you see those kind of numbers, that guy's going to be in the lineup in some capacity. But Joe Madden has also seen Luke Scott swings the last few games and knows that he's struggling. His swing looked like it had become a little bit mechanical, like he had been thinking about every aspect of the swing and not just letting it fly. Well, he let that one fly, and that ball got crushed.
One to Jennings, another stop by Perez back there. Boy, the last couple innings have been a lot of pitches in the dirt from Santana, and Perez has shown how good he is at helping out his pitcher.
He's very active. He had that one ball that hit the left side of his torso, kicked away, and Jose Molina was able to move up to second base. But other than that, he's been smothering everything.
To the shortstop, Escobar makes the throw to first. Scott remains at second base. Get in on the action with exclusive on-field seating in the Papa John's bullpen box. Available dates are going fast, so act now to make your group reservation right behind the Rays bullpen by calling 855-GROUP-TB or online at raysbaseball.com. Scott at second, 2 outs, and Sam Bold will get a chance to drive in a run. Sam was retired in the third on a very good play by Alcides Escobar at short, and then Hosmer on the receiving end on the play at first base. Sam lined to left in the fifth. Bounding ball fouled. It's 1-1. Royals had been averaging a little over 3 runs per 9 innings, and Santana is on the mound, but they have 9 for him tonight. It's 1-2. Here's the other thing about Santana for this team. He's given them a lot of innings. He's 2 outs into the 7th inning of this game.
Well, he's averaged 7 innings a start for the season.
Yep.
Impressive on its own standing, and very close to doing it once again. This will be the 10th time in 13 starts that he's thrown at least 7.
2 balls, 2 strikes,
including 6 in a row, I believe, if he's able to get this final out.
Ball, shortstop. Escobar with a strong throw to first. The Rays are out in the 7th. They leave a man onto the 8th. 9-1 Kansas City. Welcome back to Tropicana Field, where the Rays and the Kansas City Royals are opening this 4-game series. Brian Anderson and Todd Callis, Dwayne Stats, great to have you aboard tonight. Luke Scott stays on to play first base. Ryan Roberts now at second base in the place of Ben Zobrist, and Sean Rodriguez replaces Yunel Escobar at short. Kelly Johnson still at third, making his first start at third base. Lorenzo Cain opens the 8th inning against Jake Odorizzi. And his curveball is too high. 1 ball, no strikes. It's on the corner. 1-1. Shot back into left. Bold cutting back to the wall. Now the ball bounds past him, and on the way to second base, Cain with a stand-up double. Well, the carom got beyond Bold. Thought he might have a chance to catch that ball at the wall.
Well, and that's a position he put himself in. This ball was smoked right here off the bat of Cain, and Sam Fold, thinking he can make the play, is going to go back and get a little bit too close to the wall. Once he realizes he can't get there, now he's in bad position to play the carom. Try to keep that to a single. Yeah, he's just trying to make a play. The ball was hit hard enough to deserve a double.
So the Royals now with a dozen hits. 10 of those have come in the last 2 innings plus. Here's David Lowe. Chops it, headed through the middle, base hit into center. Cain's on his way to the plate. He will score. Now it's 10-1 Kansas City.
You know, in the small sample size that we've seen from the Kansas City Royals, you wonder where are their offensive issues?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Absolutely.
They have really, really put it to the Rays, and now the 3rd game that they've seen them. Official game.
And Lowe, who just drove in the run, he was in Omaha hitting 340. 340. Well, he can swing the bat a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, he's shown us tonight he's 2 for 4 with a couple runs batted in. He's got a nice stroke.
They've put consistent good swings on pitches that have been to their liking. They haven't missed that many.
Miguel Tejada doubled in a run and scored 1 in the 6th. There's a strike. Thirteen hits now for Kansas City. Everybody in the lineup has at least 1 hit. Johnson has driven in 3 runs. Tejada with a run batted in. Lowe 2 RBIs. Perez with 1. Hosmer 1. Gordon has 1. The other run scored on a wild pitch. Nobody out here in the 8th. Tejada started to duck that pitch, the curveball. Took it for a ball, 1-2. Rizzi misses outside. Now it's 2-2. Kansas City having its biggest inning of the year here tonight. They had scored as many as 7 runs in an inning. It was back in the middle of May against the Angels. They have an 8-run inning tonight. And a swing and a miss. Tejada went after the curveball. He's out on strikes. Let's check in with Todd right here. Todd?
Oh, sorry, guys. I was just checking out the new Jeremy Hellickson.
I got you. Yeah, that's
good
a
quality
legitimate
sound.
excuse.
Good quality sound out of these things. This is what they're giving away Sunday. First 10,000 kids 14 and under get this. Jeremy Hellickson, see the 58, courtesy of Metro PCS, and good quality. Cushioned earpiece, good sound. I like them. I'm going to go back to my tunes, but take it back, guys.
All right.
Well, you know what? And if Todd knew better, that's fine. That's cute. But the 58 belongs on the right ear. So if you could, there you go. Okay. So, yep. Now you go. See, he didn't know that he could enjoy that music even more.
That looks like your luck when you're on the race.
Yeah.
He's jamming out to Volbeat.
That last one was just an aberration.
Or perhaps Shinedown. One of the two.
Or Terry Cashman.
Let's hope not.
That's going to be a fair ball inside the line. Bold with a pickup. Big turn at second by the runner low. He hangs on. A base hit for Elliott Johnson. And Johnson has his 3rd hit tonight.
On Elliott Johnson, too. He had a nice series against the Rays in Kansas City. Enjoying hit that ball off the plate away, but it had elevation. Watch where this pitch is. When it's up there, you can just reach out like Elliott did, put the ball in play, and with the third base line wide open, he's able to squeeze it through. Barbecue sauce is flowing in that Kansas City dugout tonight.
Cedes Escobar after the first one. Lofts it to center. Jennings makes the catch. 2 outs with runners still at first and second. 10 runs, 14 hits. Well, Alex Gordon's spot is due up, but Jeff Francoeur will hit for him. Gordon had 2 hits tonight, 2 for 4. Francoeur comes on to bat. First pitch, too low. Runs Kansas City has scored in a game this year, 13. It was against the Phillies back on April the 5th. Double figures tonight against the Rays with 10. They have Lowe on second, Johnson on first. Two and one. Now the count squares. 8 of the runs charged to the Rays starter Hellickson. I mean, you do look at some of these numbers. You know, they're not drawing many walks, but you know, they've put together some pretty good runs offensively, and they are hitting .283 with men in scoring position. They don't hit a lot of home runs. Runners go on that 3-2 pitch. Coors strikes out. We go to the bottom of the 8th. It's 10-1 Kansas City.
Time for our AT&T Twitter poll question for the evening. We ask you this: what did you think of that James Shields Will Myers trade back in December? Hashtag TB1, you like it. Hashtag TB2, you don't like it. Hashtag TB3, you want to reserve judgment. The Rays getting a lot of pieces for the future, and the Royals getting a lot of pieces for the present, including those two guys, Wade Davis, James Shields, and a guy who has 6 hits against the Rays this year, Elliot Johnson. Tweet your votes to @SunSportsRays. We'll have the results in our Rays Live postgame show presented by Checkers. We will also talk about Jeremy Hellickson's roller coaster night, good for 5, and then all of a sudden the 6th inning came up, Joe Madden's press conference, and Barry LeBrock with interviews from the Rays clubhouse. All that coming up on Rays Live, the postgame show, gentlemen.
All right, thank you for covering a number of fronts right there, Todd.
Nice to see he could take off the headphones, do a little work.
Well, he was kind of in his own zone there.
He was. Well,
gotta give him that once in a while.
He probably was. Yeah.
David Lowe's now in left with Frank Coors staying on to play right field. 1 strike to count to Jose Molina. In the center field, Kane. 1 away. Sean Rodriguez, who's hitting in the 9th spot after taking over for Yunel Escobar. It's a strike to Sean Rodriguez. Santana just a little over the mid-90s, up to 97 now, and pitch count. 1 out into the 8th. Ball, 2 strikes. Covered up again by Perez. It's a 2-2 count. Gutierrez up in the bullpen. And there is ball 3 to Sean. Hundred pitches now for Santana. And strike 3 call to Rodriguez. Got him with the fastball away.
Well, here it is, full count heater. Yeah, he got ahead of him 0-2 quick. Missed badly with 3 straight pitches and then comes back and dots the corner.
Third strikeout of the game for Santana. Here's Matt Joyce. Pitch is a strike. Nothing in 2, the big cut right there. Base hit, struck through the right side. Second hit for Joyce. And the Rays pick up hit number 5. Here's what's coming up tomorrow on Rays Live. The pregame show presented by your Gulf Coast Honda dealers. Matt Moore looking to bounce back. He'll be on the mound for the Rays. Desmond Jennings. Things going much better for Desmond. And the Royals, led by Alex Gordon, as they have been again tonight. He's been, as we've discussed, very good on the road. Pitching change coming. The Metro PCS call to the bullpen for Kansas City. Saturday, baseball night in America returns as Robinson Cano and the Yankees head west to take on Mike Trout and the Angels. Baseball night in America begins Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. Santana works 7 2/3, 104 pitches, 5 hits, a run. Responsible for a man on with no walks and 3 strikeouts.
Did he even sweat?
Pretty cool right now.
Doesn't look like it. Great outing by Santana.
JC Gutierrez is the new pitcher. Rays have Joyce at first. Ryan Roberts up up there right now. 17th appearance for this big right-hander. 0-1. The foul ball straight back. Out of play, and the count is 1-1. And a shot back into left. Lowe has plenty of room, makes the catch. No runs, a hit, one left. We are through 8, 10-1 Kansas City. Ninth inning here at Tropicana Field tonight. Get ready, fans, for Fox Sports 1, America's new 24-hour sports network. Fox Sports 1 will be your home for great live sports, all the news and highlights you want, and shows and specials that only Fox could bring you. Fox Sports 1 coming August 17th. Eric Hosmer will open the ninth inning for Kansas City. The back half of this game dominated by Kansas City. The sixth inning, the big one for the Royals. Breaking ball misses too low. Ellickson worked 5 2/3. It has been Jake Odorizzi since then. And he's behind Hosmer 3-0.
Your ball.
And ball 4. So a leadoff walk here in the ninth.
Odorizzi being very careful with Hosmer after that home run in his previous at bat. He went the opposite way with it. Leads to a base runner here, but yeah, we thought we were in the midst of a 2.5-hour pitcher's duel. Who was going to be able to capitalize and score a run? And Kansas City just seemingly out of nowhere just started making solid contact, not missing any mistakes, hitting some good pitches, and put together a huge inning. Well, as you referenced, the biggest of the year.
Yep. George Kataris is hitting now for Perez and lifts the 0-1 pitch into shallow right, caught by Roberts. 1 on with 1 out. Chris Getz will now hit for Butler. Well, Odorizzi closing in on 50 pitches here. working the back end of this game in relief of Hellickson, which will give the rest of the bullpen a night's rest. 1 ball, no strikes. And those fellas have been busy.
Yes, they have.
Gets fouling the pitch back. 1-1. And there's the guy who really leads the charge out of that bullpen. You talk about a busy guy. Duel Peralta, it seems, is in every game. Just by force of habit, if the Rays happen to have a day off, you almost expect him to come out here and pitch.
He's been the busiest relief pitcher in the American League since 2011. That's for sure. And extremely effective. And always seemingly facing the toughest hitters in a lineup. That's the thing that makes it even more impressive. He's got great numbers, but he's not doing it against 7, 8, 9.
Yep.
I'll tell you that.
He's right there in the middle of the order all the time.
Yeah. And you gotta love him as a competitor, and maybe even more so as a teammate. You know, how many times has Joe Madden talked about what he's done down in the pen, taking some younger guys under the wing and teaching them some things, giving of himself. This guy you'd love to have on your team for obvious reasons, what he's going to get done on the mound for you, but again, awesome teammate.
Well, Hosmer moves to second on a wild pitch. So the 3-2 pitch is foul right back into the screen. So we'll see another 3-2 pitch. One on with one out. Braves have been out hit 14-5, and they trailed 10-1. It's quite a battle going on with Odorizzi. Ball 4. So the second walk of the inning. 2 men on with 1 out for Lorenzo Cain. Well, the Rays and the Royals opening this 4-game series tonight. We'll be with you tomorrow at 6:30, and Matt Moore will try to get back on the winning side of the ledger. His record 8-2. He'll be opposed by Luis Mendoza. And our coverage begins at 6:30 tomorrow night. Don't forget, Saturday is a day game. Our coverage begins at 3:30, and then Sunday afternoon to wrap up the homestand. Cain chases a high fastball, strike 1. Cain doubled off the left field wall in the 8th. Scored an additional run to make it a 10-run night for Kansas City. He takes a big cut at that fastball. 0-2. Rays continue to have trouble with Kansas City. They lost those 2 games over at Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, and then had the snow out. And backing it up into last year, they've lost 6 of their last 8 to the Royals. Kane fouls it away. Here's another guy, BA, the Rays are happy to have healthy. They think not only can he play center field with great speed, he's strong. There's just 3 home runs right now, but they think he's a guy who could provide them with some extra offense.
You see some of these swings, aggressive swings.
Pops it up. Billy Johnson, foul ball, and he's got it, 2 gone.
Yeah, it's really just been epidemic with this team, and we wouldn't know any different because what we've seen of them look like a fine offense to us, the way they've swung the bats against a pretty good Rays pitching staff.
Yeah, they really look like a good team when we see them.
Yeah, no, and the energy level's high, and it's an athletic team, it's a young team, but by and large, they have not gotten it done with the sticks. They've got a lot of guys that they were counting on that just haven't been as consistent as they would like. But you can see the potential is there.
David Lowe takes a pitch down. Well, 10 runs, 14 hits tonight. That'll make this gentleman feel pretty good about things.
Number 5.
Help him relax a little bit. George Brett.
What a great guy he is.
He's the interim hitting coach. Well, if you're a young hitter, wouldn't you like just to hang with him?
I mean, really?
1-2 now.
His ability to handle the bat, one of the best.
Odorizzi ahead of Lowe. Fouls that one back. So the count remains 1-2. Strike 3 call on the curveball to retire the side. Bottom of the 9th coming. It's 10-1 Kansas City. Here in the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Elliott Johnson with a very big night against his former teammates. 3 hits, including that home run.
Well, Elliott Johnson hitting the ball all over the place. Pulling the changeup, hitting that fastball hard, hitting the ball the other way. You know that he wants these games badly. Anytime you're moved from one team to another, always try to come back and stick it to him. He's done that.
Kelly Johnson leading off the ninth. It's a 1-1 count. Kelly making the start at third base tonight. Kelly Johnson in the batter's box. Jose Lobaton has moved into the on-deck circle. Gutierrez misses low. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
How about J.C. Gutierrez, another reliever coming out of that bullpen with a high velocity fastball.
They've had a lot of those over the past few years.
Wow.
Full count now. His issue, as is the case with a lot of those hard throwers, command and control.
The last 2 96-mile-an-hour fastballs that bounce.
There you go.
Yep. Dead giveaway.
And he walks Kelly Johnson.
And that's the issue. And that's why when guys like this with arms like that are able to get that under control, that's when they really start to flourish. Because here he's up 1-2 in a very low leverage situation to Kelly Johnson, and 3 straight fastballs, none of which were even close. 2 bounced and 1 was way up and away.
And now Jose Lobaton will pinch hit. Longoria was 1 for 3 tonight. And the pitch at 95 is in there, a strike.
And that's the one thing that you can teach, that you can improve, is command. You know, there's a lot of different drills out there, and just tightening up your mechanics to try to get a more repeatable delivery and a good release point. One thing you can't teach is 96 jumping out of the hand. So the tools are there. The adjustments can be made.
Back to a curveball for strike 2, and the curveball again for strike 3.
These were filthy breaking balls right here by Gutierrez. Get ahead, and then look at that. Really rips on that pitch. Very tight spin, good break, good depth.
Now Luke Scott. Luke doubled in the 7th. The fastball is away. 1 ball, no strikes.
That's what you want to see from Luke. Just like that last at bat, letting that swing fly. Then you take a rip like you mean it.
And a base hit the other way. So Luke, a late entry into this game, is 2 for 2. Took the fastball into left field.
Maybe this could be something positive coming out of this game for the Rays, is Luke Scott going the other way. 2 straight at bats on fastballs away. Nice level swing there. Able to shoot that ball out into left field. Hope that just gives a shot of life to his confidence.
This pitch curveball is low to Desmond Jennings. Well, we've seen Scott when he's hot. He goes on one of those stretches. He can be as hot as he was cold. center field. Kane makes the catch. Kelly Johnson moves over to third following the catch. So 2 on, 2 out. Sam Bold will be coming up. Rays Live, the post game presented by Checkers, is next. So stay with us for that. Here's Sam Bold. Swing and a miss. Scott moves into second. Indifference. Sam getting his 22nd start of the year tonight. And is down in the count 0-2. Nice stop by Perez.
And that's when it really counts. Runners on second and third. Get these catchers back there moving around, trying to block balls.
I say Perez, I guess that's their backup catcher, George Kataris.
Regardless.
So he's done a nice job.
We've saw Perez all night long blocking balls.
Well, if both their catchers can do that, they're in good shape in that department.
Especially late, a 10-1 ball game. But runners on second and third, you get a little bit of playing time, got to perform.
And a swing and a foul tip strikeout. Bold out on strikes to retire the side. It's a 10-1 final. Santana's going to get the win to even his record at 5-5. And Hellickson will take the loss. His record is 4-3. It took 3 hours and 5 minutes to play this game. And the first game of this series goes to the Kansas City Royals, and Sam Bold showing the frustration of this night for the Rays as they drop this game 10-1. With 2 home runs hit in this game tonight, a total of $24,000 raised for prostate cancer research. To make a donation, you can go online to homerunchallenge.org. 10-1 the final. We'll return in just a moment.